Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video of the Azimuth. Today we're going to be talking about a tank that has been causing a lot of controversy within the Steel Titans community, and that is the E-10. The E-10 is by far one of the most overpowered premium tanks in the game. 13. If you use the 13 degrees gun pressure and see around like that, not even a flak will pen you. You have to actually hit the lower plate, which is, about 85 millimeters. Now, the reason why this thing is so ridiculously overpowered is, for example, if you go on the map factory and you spawn on the side which has all those tubes, and you drive all around to where the river is, and you sit there, you can literally use your gun depression and no one will pen you. The only person I can think of that will damage you is either the KV-122 or the SU-122. This tank is by far ridiculously overpowered, and the downside of this tank is the lower plate. Once you hide that lower plate and use your fantastic gun depression, you basically become completely and utterly unkillable, and you can slaughter the entire enemy team. I tried this tank. First game, I didn't do that particularly well. Second game, again, not that particularly well. The third game on factory, I got 21 kills in this thing. 21 kills before I was slaughtered by the entire enemy team that had to come to me just to kill me. This thing is overpowered. I honestly think this thing should be removed because it is blatantly overpowered. It is ungodly unfair. Once you start using that, you don't even have to use the gun depression just to get a unthinkable amount of armor. I mean that's if you're showing just your gun, that's 150 millimeters of effective armor. Once you start using the gun depression, that goes up to about 200 millimeters. Nothing will pen that. This thing is just, it's ridiculously unbalanced. It needs to be balanced somehow. It needs to be balanced. It is ridiculously overpowered. It's maneuverable. It turns ungodly quick. It's got a ridiculous reload. It's got a fantastically overpowered gun. The engine power is off the charts. It's quick. It doesn't weigh that much. It's got fantastic gun depression and gun elevation. There's no drawbacks about this tank. There's not one, besides the weak lower plate. But you can fix that easily just by hiding it and using your gun depression. And then this thing becomes one of the most it does become the most overpowered tank in the game. And I honestly think that that is just super unhealthy for the game. It's not healthy. It really is not healthy. I know, and that they need to make money somehow. I mean, the KV-122 is not overpowered. Yes, it can sometimes one-shot tanks, but it's got a rather unreliable gun. The armor is a bit near. I mean, you can get some ridiculous, ungodly-like bounces, and the armor just does wonders. But it's not overpowered. It's got a long reload. You're not always going to, one-shot people. You've got ridiculously slow shelf velocity. Your turret turns really slow. You don't have the best traverse. You're just not that good going over terrain. While this thing is fantastic going over terrain. Let me get rid of that. Fantastic going over terrain. It's got a fantastic gun. It's small. It's agile. It's got fantastic frontal armor. You know, SU-85 with the if I get the SU-85 up, SU-85 with the D5S, I think that says. You know, if we look at the modifications, no, it can't even pen us. Can't pen us. This is what makes this thing so ridiculously overpowered. I just think it needs to be either removed or severely nerfed. This is the most ridiculously overpowered tank in the game. I didn't even have to try that hard just to get the 20 odd kills on the map factory. All I had to do was use my gun depression. I didn't really know if the flak or the SU-85 was going to pen me or not. I didn't know. But when they, you know, fired at me and they didn't pen because I was using my gun depression, then I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, this thing is. I don't even need to show gameplay just to, because all the people in the Steel Titans community know how ridiculously overpowered this thing is. If you get, say you've got a little mound here, say it's like, less than 13 degrees of an incline, you move up, you use your gun depression, not only can they not kill you, but once they get spotted, because this is an amazing, absolutely amazing scouting tank. Because on the map factory, if I wasn't killing things, I was spotting things. And the enemy could not do anything until they sent their entire team to kill me. This thing is, again I'm going to say it, this thing is unfair by how overpowered it is. It is ridiculously overpowered. It's just, I can't describe by how ridiculous it really is. I can't even put it into words. It's one of those tanks where you playing it. Of course, you have to be cautious because if you, if say a VK36, which is taller than you, fires, VK36 has a pretty good pen. He fires, he's going to pen you. But if you use a little bit of your gun depression and you're far away, there's no way he's going to pen you. Probably like that. There's still no way he's going to pen you. A flak, I do not think. The 88mm flak. Where's it? Flak bus. I don't think the flak bus can pen you. I really don't think. Let's have a look. 153. Nope. Can't even pen you. So, is this the most overpowered tank in the game? You bet your ass it is. Should it be removed from the game? That's up to the developers. I can't. And in my own opinion, I would definitely remove it from the game, or make it like a limited edition, or make it as an event vehicle or something like that. Because this thing just it kills servers. It really does. Every time I joined a server, people would whine about it, which they have every right to. They have every right to whine about this tank. And when you start killing people, you start racking up the kills. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they can't do anything to you. Because you're using your gun depression. And you're using your armor effectively. Even when you angle in this thing, it becomes pretty good. The gun mantler is... it's a bit of a weak spot, but again, like, does it really matter? Probably not, really. You know, that is one way you can actually kill this thing, is shoot the gun at it, like shoot right here. You could probably, you know, kill it. But what are the downsides of this tank? Well, lower plate is a huge weakness. It's half the size of the upper plate, but it's only 25mm thick. The upper plate is 60, so it's effectively a third the thickness. You know, even the T-34, you know, with the F-34 gun, or F-32, whatever it's called, can pen this thing. Can pen the low plate. I mean, if he's using his gun depression, and you could just see just a little bit of his lower plate, then go for it. You're going to pen it. But if you can't see the lower plate, and all you can see is this big old slab of, no touchy-watchy armor, then you're screwed. You are screwed. You're just going to get ripped apart by this gun, which this gun, for some reason, has the most ridiculous pen I've ever seen. 166, 140 for the stock round. The heat round, do not use. If you're going to use the heat round, you put yourself at a massive disadvantage. The high explosive round is fairly nice, but I mean, I haven't really used it. But this thing can, well, it can one-shot anything that can, that is open. But this APHE CBC round is really nasty against something like the flag. Really nasty. This thing, I had to do a video on it because it's one of those tanks where you just want to take a step back and think, oh my god, what have they added to the game? Because you don't see many of them around, because everybody just assumes it's going to be a bad tank. And then they see someone playing in it, and that person that has it is just getting kill after kill after kill after kill. Because not only are they using their gun depression, but they're using, like, say, little mounds of dirt where they raise their tank up just a bit, so they make their armor basically completely immune to every single gun in the game. I haven't come across a KV-122 or an SG-122, but I will not be surprised if they completely obliterate me. Because it's only 60mm, and I know that it can pen 140mm of armor. And heat will pen up to, is it 75 degrees of armor? Or was it 80 degrees? I think it's 75. I don't think it's as sharp as 80, but I think it's 75. But yeah, this thing is cruelly unfair. I would suggest probably remove it or make it as a tier 3. That will probably balance it. You know, pull it like here. Like, I don't know, just do something with it to balance it. Probably make it more expensive, I don't know. All I do know is that this thing is overpowered. It is blatantly overpowered, and I'm not going to blame the developers one bit. I don't think they intentionally added this thing to be overpowered. I don't think that they would do that. You know, they seem pretty cool developers. I don't think that they would intentionally add in a ridiculously overpowered tank, yeah, just to do this. I don't see it happening. I honestly think that they need to have a look at this tank and figure out of a way to balance it. I would say, in my opinion, probably make the reload probably say 7 seconds or 7.5 seconds, or maybe make it a bit slower, or make the traverse of the gun maybe down to 13 degrees or 12 degrees, or do something to balance this thing, because this thing is ridiculous. I would say the biggest thing to impact this tank would be to change the armor, because then everybody that owns this tank is just going to complain and say, oh, you know, I want my stuff back, you know, I don't like this tank anymore. I mean, if you look at this tank, you can see that the side is actually curved, which actually gives this thing more of an advantage at side scraping. Because if you side scrape like that, yeah, that's 300 millimeters. You're not gonna bend that. You won't bend it. It is a ridiculous tank. I don't know. Probably give it a more powerful gun, but give it a ridiculous reload, like say 13-second reload or 14-second reload or something like that. Maybe give it the well, that wouldn't make sense, would it? Because they're keeping historical accuracy here. I don't know exactly how you would balance this thing. Probably just remove it entirely from the store and make it as a, say, a Christmas tank. So when Christmas comes around, you pull it in for a limited edition, you know, limited dime. You pull it in, and once Christmas is over, you can take it out again. That will be pretty bloody good. It will probably cause a lot of angry people because they won't be able to get their hands on it. But if you keep it at the low price that it is, now I think a lot of people will be quite happy when they get their hands on it. You'll probably see a lot of these things running around, or maybe an even better thing is do something similar to what they do in Water Tanks or War Thunder, where you know you have to complete a series of missions where each, like, say, each 2 missions unlocks a part of the tank. When you complete, say, 2 missions unlocks the gun, another 2 missions unlocks the chassis, another 2 missions unlocks the engine, another 2 missions unlocks the crew, and then another 2 missions unlocks the hull. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So, you know, that's 10 missions. You know, don't make the missions completely overpowered. You know, don't make them like stupidly strong, but you know, make them relatively easy. And then make this as like, you know, just like a reward tank. That would be a pretty good idea. But right now, this thing is just ridiculously overpowered. It's just like it says the front of the hull is 70. I don't. I think that's just counting this. It's not really counting this. But then again, as I said, the weak spot, shockingly, is this. Because I got penned here in 2 games. One in one game, one another. And it actually killed me. One game, a flak penned me there. And one hit me. And then another game was a VK36 Seal 1H. Which I think it was either my low plate or the gun mantlet. I don't know where he actually hit me because it was a long range shot he fired. But yeah, this thing can be killed if you don't know how to use it. I'm not saying that the people who use it that get killed easily in this thing are stupid. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that this thing does take a bit of skill to use. But once you like tunker down in like a ridiculous area, like say on factory or like on that river, and you hunker down there, you become unkillable. You literally become unkillable. You become untouchable. It's ridiculous by just how stupidly strong this thing is. In the right hands, again, just like with the KV-122, this thing is, I say it's overpowered, but if somebody doesn't know how to use it, it's not really overpowered. You can only make a tank overpowered if you know how to use it. So, for example, say the new Panzer IV J, you know, it's a pretty strong vehicle as it is. But if somebody knows how to use it, if somebody knows how to use the armor, you know, if they know how to do this and that, say, you know, when they fire, they turn to turn the turret. You know that. Then you know. Hang on. 35. Alright. But yeah. This thing is it is a bit overpowered. Well, it's more than a bit overpowered. It is overpowered on its own, but once you get a good player using this tank, you can shred an entire team. Of course, you need backup. You do need a team. But if you have one of these on your team and they say sit in an area where the enemy team can't kill them, but they keep the enemy team lit, you've basically automatically won the game. This is how influential this tank is. It just influences the entire server. And I mean, if you are a very good shot and you hit here and you kill him, then congrats. But if you don't have the pen, like say if you're like a early T-34 model, like say a T-34 1940, which does have a pretty crap gun, the 76mm AR-11, and I think its highest pen round, yeah, 93mm. So if we go back to the E-10, we can see that the armor on the gun mantlet is, well, it's thicker than 93mm, which means that you're probably going to spoil all the time with the T-34 1940 model. If you're using the T-34 1941, I think, with the F-34 gun, I think you do have a very good round. Yeah, 102, which means you are going to be able to hopefully overmatch the front, the gun mantlet armor, but I'm not entirely sure if that is backed up by another layer of armor. I'm not entirely sure, but overall, I don't know. I mean, overall, this thing, it just feels kind of cheaty. Like, it feels like a cheaty way of playing the game. I don't think it's a game killer. I really do not think it's a game killer. But I do think it is definitely a tank that will make a lot of people rage and quit. Luckily, a lot of people have, continued playing this game, and the game has been doing very, very well. But I really do hope that when they add in new premiums or new tank lines, that they really do keep the balance. Like, for example, the KV-122 is so well balanced. It is so well balanced. It's got a rather trolly turret. If you angle properly, you can get some stupid YOLO bouncers. You've got a pretty good gun. The shell velocity is garbage, 335 meters a second. This tank is utter crap on long range maps, but it's a good tank in city maps. I mean, it just demolishes everything. It's got a very slow charge first. It's got basically no gun pressure. It's a balanced tank. The E-10 is practically the only tank in the game which is on the leading edge of overpowered. It is overpowered, but it's not stupidly overpowered. It's just overpowered. Once you get a very good player playing this tank, then you can consider it stupidly overpowered. But, for a long time, everybody was saying the KV-122 was stupidly overpowered. Bearing in mind, this was when it had a 25-second reload. But now people don't really complain about it because I have a feeling, because the shells on the KV-122 are really dodgy, where the heat rounds, even though it says they got 140mm pen, if you hit any sort of sloped armor, you will not pen. Like, for example, say you come across an E-10, and I've had this so many times. Come across an E-10, he comes on the corner, and because you're taller than him, you can easily pen that, right? Not really, no. Because he's so small, if he comes right up against you, then what do you exactly do? And it says 10mm, but if you hit this, you're not going to pen because it's just at too sharp of an angle. It's you know, now that they nerfed the entire T-34 line, I'm not even joking, they nerfed the living crap out of this line. This used to be 45mm of armor, but now it's 42, which means the KV-122 will just completely butcher the living crap out of this armor. It doesn't even matter if you're angled. It will just, I mean, if you angle like that, then yeah, it's not going to do anything. But if you angle like that, it's going to slice right through. You know, we're not talking about the KV-122, we're talking about the E-10. E-10 is overpowered if it's used in the right hands. If people don't really know how to use it, like for example, in my first game in it, I didn't really know how to use it. I tried to use it like a Stug, which failed miserably. This is not a close engaging tank destroyer. If you try and brawl with this tank, you will die. No joke. I've been killed so many times by getting in close. It's ridiculous. What you want to do is you just want to sit in a spot where it hides your lower plate, and you want to use your gun depression so that they can't pen you. They can't pen you. Your gun. Now, this is a factor that I haven't mentioned until now. Your gun takes forever to turn. It is a very slow turning gun. It's, if I'm correct, it's actually slower. Yes, it's actually shockingly slower than the SU-122. And the SU-122 has a bigger gun. So, yeah. It's slower by 1 degree a second. So yeah, this is a very slow turning gun. I think I didn't really notice, it didn't really affect the performance, but up close, it was just such a painful experience when you, because this tank turns ridiculously quick. If you just press the A or D key like slightly, your tank will turn and your aim will be completely thrown off. And it's just, I mean, the poor gun traverse and the weak lower plate, it kind of balances the vehicle, but at the same time it doesn't. I mean, you could be in a Panzer IV or a KV-1 and you could drive right past this thing and not even notice it. On the new map, this thing is practically invisible because the new map is practically the same color as the tank. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you did enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy this video, give it a thumbs down. Put in the comment section what you think about the E-10. I nearly called it the E-25, but the E-10. Personally, I like the tank, but I'm not going to overly use it because I don't want to be one of those guys which is going to kill the game off. Because I love this game, and I hope it does well. But I hope they do something with this tank. Most likely, I would probably like to see it as an event vehicle only. that will be pretty good. Give it like special modifiers or something, or something like that. But yeah. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.